Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here, and today we'll be checking out Sanctum 2. This is the first-person tower defense FPS hybrid game set in space. The game was developed by Coffee Stain Studios. It is of course the sequel to the original Sanctum that came to the PC and Mac back in April of 2011. Here in this video I'll be showing you guys some gameplay as well as giving you my initial thoughts and impressions on Sanctum 2. I've made my way about a third of the way through the game's campaign, and because each one of these levels is so lengthy, what I'm going to do is actually start off by showing you one of the very beginning basic levels, not the introduction, but right after that in the park, and then later I'll show you something in the second chapter, which is here in the rocky fields, which will be a little more complex and in-depth. The reason I'm doing this is because each of these levels can take an incredible amount of time, 20 to 30 minutes, and I wanted to start off with some of the basics before we get into more of the complex stuff. So we're going to start off here in the park. As you can see here, there's this little sort of comic book cartoon. This is how a lot of the storytelling takes place. There's no cutscenes or cinematics that I've seen so far. It's just all in these little comic book cartoon segments in between each of the levels. Now, when you start off the level, if you're playing solo, you get to pick from 1 to 4 characters. There's actually a co-op in this game. It is a 4-player co-op, so ideally you would have one of each character available. So each one of these characters, there's differences in terms of their weapons and abilities. So you can see here the Sky Autumn. She has got the assault rifle. She deals more damage after each hit on an enemy, and she's got double jump. Sweet Autumn here has the Rex weapon. Shots from her set the targets on fire, and she's got great air control. Simo here, he's got the sniper rifle. He deals more weak spot damage when hitting weak spots on enemies. He's also got better accuracy. And then lastly, Hygen Hawkins here, he's got the shotgun as his primary weapon, and he deals more damage when up close to enemies and has more health. Now, because I'm playing solo, I'm going to stick with what I feel is one of the most rounded characters, which is the Sky Autumn, simply because her primary weapon's assault rifle, and having the double jump is pretty nice as well when you're playing by yourself. So you've got the primary weapon, which is directly tied to whatever character you select. Beyond that, there is a secondary weapon, and you unlock various weapons as you progress through the game. Now you can see I've got a few different options here. You start off with this voltaic hand cannon, and then you unlock the battle rifle and this prototype electric thing. I think for this particular playthrough here, we're going to just go with the battle rifle. High velocity explosive rounds plus a secondary fire, which is a timed bomb. You can see right here the secondary fire for the assault rifle is a grenade that explodes on impact. Now, beyond your weapon selection, there's also a selection of towers that you can pick. Again, it's one of those things where as you progress through the game, you get access to more and more towers. I've unlocked about half of them so far. And the ones that I currently have selected are the Cannon Tower, which is a good all-arounder. When upgraded, it gets, let's see, range and damage is increased greatly, but fire rate is slowered. I've got the Lightning Tower, which shoots bounce if upgraded, and then also it's good against heavy enemies. And then I've got this R Mine Dispenser, which is a dispenser of mines that allow me to place them where I feel on the battlefield. A few other ones that I've unlocked so far are this Gatlin, which is good against weak enemies. I've got the ACP, which deals damage in area around itself to ground units. And then I've got this right here, which is a slow. But I'm going to just stick with these 3. Now, as you progress, you also unlock additional slots. So at the moment, I only have 3 tower slots, but as we move forward, we should be unlocking more and more. Same thing with the perks here. There's a perk system. I've currently got a weak spot damage increase, as well as the ability to, whenever I kill an enemy, they explode, dealing damage to enemies around them. And there's a whole bunch of perks. Again, you unlock them just as you progress through the game, and you level your character up. And you don't have to level individual characters, you basically level your account, and that will be applied. These perks are the same across all of the characters. The only thing that separates each of the characters are their innate special abilities, which we took a look at here, and their primary weapons. But that's it. All of the perks and towers that you unlock, that is done account-wide. Okay, so that is pretty much everything. I think we are all set up. Let me go with the battle rifle there, and then we can go ahead and accept, and here we are in one of the early levels in Sanctum 2. So once again, this is a Tower Defense FPS hybrid. The idea is that at the start of each one of the missions, you can take a look on the upper left-hand corner. It shows the mini-map, which will show the trail that the upcoming wave of enemies will take. Now you can see they're currently projected to go right here and straight towards that orb. And now the story behind this, I know it's just a tower defense game, so it doesn't necessarily need a story, but this game does have a little bit of a story. The general concept is these little spheres here, they are oxygen producing. We need them as a species to live, and the aliens are attacking us trying to destroy those spheres. So our goal is to protect them so we can breathe. So what I'm going to do is, we've got a few different options here. We've got this basic building block that I can place down anywhere, which essentially acts as a wall that people have to go around. And then I've got the 3 towers that I initially selected in that starter screen, the basic range weapon, the AoE tower, and then the mine dispenser. So what I can do is I can place down one of these basic building blocks, which acts as a wall and then will force the enemy waves to go over there. Now this is pretty standard tower defense stuff. It's nothing, you know, absolutely crazy here. This is, again, just pretty basic stuff. Now I only have one of those to start, those basic building blocks. If you take a look at bottom center, you can see it says I've got 0 of those left. However, I still have resources to build or upgrade towers, and I'm going to use those resources right here. And I think I will go with, trying to find out the best spot to do this. I'm just trying to think ahead when we're moving forward here. Why don't we just go ahead and put this right here? This will be a good spot. Okay, so that's going to call down this tower here, and that will be placed down, and then we can go ahead and hit enter, which will start the wave. Now, once we hit enter, the planning phase has finished. We can no longer place anything down, and then we go into the first-person shooter mode. So we've got my 2 weapons. My base weapon here is the assault rifle. And then when that runs out, as it's reloading, we can hit E to switch weapons to my secondary weapon, which is that bad boy right there. This is the one with the explosive rounds. And again, what's basically going to happen is every time you run out of ammo, you just switch to the alternate weapon. Now that first wave, very simple. So now that that wave has finished, we're going to go down here and pick up a few more building blocks. So that's given us 4 of those. And then this right here is going to be some more resources. Now, we can do a couple things here. We've got a few more building blocks, so what we could do is I could place down, start forming this little bit of a wall here, going across. Just like this. And every time I place one down, it's going to connect to the nearby one. Now, I could also get rid of this because this doesn't seem really necessary. I don't think, yes, it doesn't look like the enemies will go across there. So what I did there was, by left-clicking, you place down an object. By right-clicking, you recycle it. So you can see when I mouse over something, it's going to say what you will get for recycling. So when I recycle one of these, I get one of those to use. And it appears like you don't really lose anything. It's 1-for-1 trade. And you can also recycle the cannons. So I've got 2 options. Left mouse button to upgrade this defense tower, or right mouse button to recycle it. Now you're going to see when I recycle it, I get 140 back, and 140 is what it costs to place down. So it's, you're going to see this tower right here. So if I were to place this down, it would cost me 140, and it would also cost me a building block. However, if I were to place it down on a building block, it would only cost me that 140. So it's a 1-to-1 system. You don't lose anything by recycling something you've placed down. And I like that because they really encourage experimentation and allowing the player to just do what they want. Now in this little building block right here, I will place down one of these AoE towers, and then I've got a few more of these that I can go ahead and place down, which I will do so to direct the flow of the enemy creep right on over that way. Okay, so they're going to be going through there, and then around here, walking right by that gun and straight into that direction. That sounds great to me. In fact, I might as well, to be honest with you, I think I can get rid of these right here, and then just push it across in this direction.
This is gonna get him.
So you can see the flow is still gonna go, and I save myself now. I've got 1 extra of these to place down. And actually the way we could do it here is let's put that right there, just like that. All right, that looks like a great spot. Let's go ahead and hit enter and go back into the combat phase. You'll also notice right there, that's going to show the upcoming enemies and how many of each of them are coming through. So now enemies incoming, so I can go ahead and stand on top here and shoot these incoming dudes. and every time I run out of ammo, it's going to recharge. It's basically, I suppose, just a cooldown system. So whenever you run out of ammo, it's always best to just switch to your alternate weapon, it seems. At least that's been the case for me after playing for a few hours. I've never found a reason to go for a full-on reload when you could just switch weapons. Just works better. You don't have to wait for anything if you just switch weapons, and the weapon in the back slot will reload in between. Now you can see these guys got through. They're able to do a little bit of damage to the core, down to 3,900 out of 3,900 out of 4,000. All right, so that wave is finished. Now we can go ahead and pick ourselves up the cores and the resources. And this time, instead of placing down another tower, I'm going to upgrade this one. So with left mouse button, I can upgrade it, and for however many resources I spend, it's going to upgrade in damage and everything. So watch this. I'm going to just left mouse button a little bit. Notice the damage and range going up. And then if you continue all the way through, I don't have quite enough, but next round I'll have enough resources to upgrade it all the way, and it'll become a level 2 tower, in which it becomes much more potent. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and bring these over here, just like this. And I think I will actually bring these all the way across. You can see I'm running out of time. Some of the rounds have a set time limit in between where you can't stick in the planning phase forever. Okay. We got some incoming enemies. Now there's all sorts of different enemy types. We've got some fast ones, some brutes. We've got some ones that do melee attacks, ones that do ranged attacks. So there's all sorts of different kinds of enemies that you have to contest with. And there's also a scope, which you can do with its left control, and because right mouse button is actually for the alternate fire. And again, we've got this basic explosive round for the primary fire. My alternate fire is this timed explosive that I can place on the ground, and then after a short amount of time, it will blow up just like that. Okay, that was the end of that round. And that is 4 out of 6 now. Let's go ahead and pick up some more resources, some more of the building blocks, and we can finish upgrading this now to level 2, so why don't we do so? There we go. And now I also have just enough, so that is now upgraded to level 2. It is that much more potent, has a very, very high damage now compared to the base tower of this type. And next thing, instead of upgrading, I'm going to get one more tower down here. Place one of these, and then we'll go ahead and hit enter, move into the next phase. So again, all sorts of different enemy types. They all have weak spots. This guy's weak spot is just straight on his face. Orange damage is base damage. Red damage is basically what will be considered critical strikes, which means you have hit the weak spot of whatever character that is. Okay, so these guys, those guys right there are the range guys. These guys are the melee brutes. Now the range guys, their weak spot is actually behind, so you're gonna notice if I can walk behind them there. Notice how it's pretty obvious, you know, sort of like a system that Borderlands used, or Lost Planet is actually another game that uses a similar system where it's a really bright spot. It's pretty obvious that that is where you attack for the weak spot. Pretty obvious here in this game as well. Okay, so we've got these guys right here. Shoot his weak spot in his face. Try to move out of the way. So you can die. In doing so, basically all it does is forces a respawn. And that's a problem because when you're respawning, you're not attacking. And that obviously makes it that much easier for the enemy to make their way towards your main base. Alright, so we're going to go for an upgrade this time around. I'm going to throw in resources to upgrade this, just shy of getting that to level 2. And I've got a bunch of these building blocks left, so I will use those to direct
This'll do it.
the flow of the enemy here. And I think what I'd like to do is actually, we're going to dump this right here. And I'm like to put these guys in this direction.
Hour at a time.
I'm going to get rid of this as well. And then I will wrap it back around over here like this. So the building is pretty cool in this game. It's a nice intuitive and quite a simple system as well that they have. Okay, so we're going to go with that, and that's going to force people around in this direction. And then why don't we've got enough to finish upgrading that to 2, so there it is. Where did we get those extra resources from? It was from salvaging the tower that was right there. And then with the 130 that we have left, why don't I dump some upgrade into this one? So even though it doesn't make it all the way to 2, it still gets that increase in damage, so it is worth it for me. And I do have 2 things left, so we're going to place rundown here to block that. And then we'll go with one right here. Okay, so that is all set. This is wave 5 of 6. Let us go ahead and hit enter. The next enemy is upcoming. It's just 2. Very slow moving. And they've got this weak spot here. I found these guys to be some of the easiest enemies in the game. I mean, they don't even attack you if you move up close to them. So there's really almost no threat from them at all. The thing is, if you don't try to focus them down and get these critical hits on them, then they can be really dangerous because they can make their way to your sphere and knock it down pretty quickly. So they're really dangerous. Since this is one of the first levels, it's obviously not a problem, but they become really, really dangerous later on when there's a bunch of swarmers around them as well. And so you need to focus on those, and then these guys try to make their way through. That's sort of the idea there. We're just going to finish that off so we can clear the wave, get our resources, and then move on to the final wave here, 6 of 6. You can see, again, the upcoming enemies that we're about to encounter. We can finish upgrading this here. Get that up now to level 2. And why don't I get one of these level 2s? Oh, that guy's only level 1? Oh, I should have upgraded this. These towers upgraded are insane. They just do really, really great damage. And then with the remainder here of the building blocks, we'll try to, again, direct the flow to make defending my sphere a little bit easier here in this final wave. We will hit enter as we complete this here.
Okay, get ready.
So I found this game very satisfying and a lot of fun, to be honest with you. What I've played so far has been really, really enjoyable. I've spent a few hours with it, and I just think it's a really cool tower defense game. I really, really do. I like the art style. I like the world that this game is set in. I think that they've done a pretty good job, most certainly, and they've made pretty drastic improvements over the original game. The game's just a lot smoother, and we've got, you know, the character classes, which is pretty awesome, the new weapon types and all sorts of things. Now, there's no indication of my health on the screen, far as I can tell. It's just after you take a little bit of damage. Screen will start to get highlighted in red, and then once it is completely red, you are dead. And again, then it's just a matter of respawning. So there you go. That was just a quick little introduction. Now what we're going to do is jump forward a little bit. I'd like to introduce you to some of the more in-depth. The towers and everything that we have are going to be the same, but some of just the more complex level layouts and things like that. Now I leveled up here, so I've unlocked a drone as well as a new passive. Let's see, electrical bolts hit enemies close to you. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then a new tower slot as well, so that's very nice. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit continue here. This is going to bring us to the world map. And then we're going to hop out of this first chapter and move into the second chapter, which is the Rocky Fields. Now, before we hop in, I also want to show you this right here. If you go into game options, there's a few things. You can play through the campaign. There's also a survival mode and an easy mode if you want to notch things down a little bit. Survival mode is just continuous waves of enemies, basically. Campaign is, if you're going to do just one playthrough of this game, this is probably what you want to do. The network, you can choose public, friends only, or private. And then this is what I wanted to really show you. These are the feats of strength. So this one has been active. It was active in the first playthrough that we did. And what you can do is make the waves more difficult. These are basically like challenge modes. You can make the play more difficult, but as a result, as a trade-off, you get more XP. So you can see all of these will give me an XP gain increase by 20%. Now what I've focused on is I've actually just kept this one on, enemies attack more ferociously, just because I generally am pretty good of staying away from enemy damage, so I figured might as well take that. But some of these could make things really hard. You can make enemies more durable, you can make them move quicker, you could allow them to regenerate their wounds, and then you can also make it so that you get less resources whenever you recycle towers, which this will essentially make it so that you've got to really plan out your layout, and if you try to redo anything, you're going to be at a loss. I'm going to just keep this one enabled, but I just wanted to show you guys this system so that you knew about the feats of strength. So let's go ahead and go back here, and we will try out the comm tower. I thought this was an interesting level layout. You can see as I mouse over these, you can see all the different layouts available. on the left-hand side. And again, we've got this nice little comic strip here as a storytelling device. So we've got the 4 character classes. We've got character customization through weapons and perks, the feats of strength system. Again, this game also has that co-op. And why don't I'm thinking, I don't know, this could be a little bit hard for me to do that. Yeah, since I'm doing this solo, I'm just going to stick with the Sky Autumn. Again, I think you guys figured out the differences are simple enough between these guys. We've got another tower slot, and in that slot I will, let me think here. So we just picked up this one. Send drones to fire at a target over 15 seconds. That is pretty neat, so why don't we put that in our last slot. We're going to stick with the passives that we have. We will hit accept, and let's go ahead and hop in.
I'm back.
So this layout quite a bit different here from the last one. First thing I'm going to do is hop down here to pick up my resources and building blocks. So if you take a look at the map on the upper left, again, you can see the way the upcoming waves are going to be moving, and you can see the potential paths. And all the blue blocks are potential building areas. And so what I found was really good for this particular map is I'm going to do a couple of things. Number one, I will block this section off. So in future waves, there could potentially be enemies moving through here. However, if I block that off, they are forced now to move through the only other exit, which is right over here. And then to stop them from just beelining it straight through this way, I place this down. So again, this is going to force them over here. And then their next planned path is over in this direction. So I say, no thank you. I will block that down.
This is gonna get him.
And then that forces them all the way around. So all of a sudden I've got a lot more control here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on this little choke point for now. And we will place down one of these area of effect towers. And then just a few more of these. Again, just trying to funnel these guys into a set direction. And I actually think, how should I do this here from this point forward? So they're going to take the damage going through that way. And then what I can do is have them funneled in this direction if they try to move over here. All right, so we've got a nice little path here. They've got to weave a ton, and I'll focus the towers basically in this choke point for now, and then we'll sort of take it from there after the fact. All right, so let's hit enter and engage in the first wave. The other thing you're going to see in this particular map, besides the new interesting layout, is the fact that we're going to see some different enemies as well. Okay, so those explosive rounds. So we got some zoomers there, really fast guys. These guys right here, they're really aggressive. They will actually continue to chase you if you are in their line of sight. So you got to be careful. We got to be careful about those guys too. I'm gonna actually stick over here to just try to get rid of anyone who funnels through, basically. And again, whenever you run out of ammo, just make that quick switch, because the other one will reload while that's happening. These guys are super aggressive. There's that first wave cleared. Fantastic. Moving on. Pick up some more ammo. Rinse and repeat. Now this level right here, the last time I ran through it, it took me a half an hour. We are not going to sit here for a half an hour for this level. Sorry, hate to break it to you. But I really just wanted to give you guys a good introduction. That right there, that is my mine tower. It periodically dispenses a mine that I can pick up and place on the ground, and essentially I would just place that as something like a choke point here, so that any enemies that make it past me get blown up. And we do have a few more, so we're gonna use this to funnel in this direction. So I think that is pretty much going to do it. I mean, I think you guys have a pretty good idea of what this game is all about now. I think it's really fun, and I could also see this being a ton of fun when you play with people. Once again, there is a 4-person co-op, so you can play with yourself and up to 3 other people. And yeah, it's a really neat game. What I've played so far, I've put in 3 hours, and I've made it about a third of the way through the game's campaign. So we're looking at, I don't know, if it stays consistent here, we're looking at a campaign That's maybe around 8 or so hours. Now that is just the campaign mode. There is the survival mode, and you can of course continue to redo these levels and level up your characters, get more perks, get more towers, all sorts of fun stuff like that. This guy's weak spot's right on the back here, so you can do a lot of damage if you're able to get him to expose that. The dangerous part is if you get too close, he turns around and blasts you in the face, so you sort of got to be careful for that. And since this will take an incredible amount of time, we're not going to just sit here and go through every single wave. But again, I think at this point you guys have a pretty good idea of how this game is played, what it's all about. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this check out of Sanctum 2. Once again, this has been Force. The game is available tomorrow on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC for $14.99. I think it's a good price. I think this is a great game. Lots of fun. And a decent amount of content, seemingly, as well. So I think this will be something that tower defense players really enjoy. And it's got that unique perspective, it's got that really cool art style, and I just like the world as well. Let's go ahead and upgrade this tower, because these things are ridiculous upgraded. Oh, just shy of the level, huh? That's a bummer. Alright, thank you guys for watching. This has been Forrest checking out Sanctum 2. If you like the content, please subscribe. And as always, keep watching and keep owning. Stay away from me, you. Yeah, that's right. Go to my OP tower. Get rocked. Gotcha, alien scum.
Target demolished.